Clyde was very tall, very thin man, and we were always trying to keep him warm. I mean, each Christmas we'd give him another flannel shirt.
And there's scarf.
Then somebody gave him a scarf for Christmas because he wasn't cold. We just thought he shouldn't be.
Well, his birthday was on the 24th of December,
Yeah.
so.
His birthday was the 24th of December, and the way we found out that he had passed is he said he didn't want to keep getting Christmas cards for his birthday. And so every year I'd send him a birthday card.
Mm-hmm.
And this year I sent him a birthday card, and it came back, not deliverable at this address.
Uh-oh.
And that immediately, we got a hold of the mobile home park, and I got a hold of his sister, and she told us that she hadn't been able to find anybody to talk to. And, because she had lost my address and phone number, and even my email. So, we had a long conversation, and, I said, well, where is he? And she said, oh, he has been cremated, but they had a problem, and for those of you who work in hospitals, maybe you can explain to me how. She said that they didn't know for sure it was him who had passed, because he didn't have the identification that he needed. And I said, well, did they look at his pacemaker? Don't they have a number on a pacemaker? Now, do pacemakers have?
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
I think do.
Yes, they do.
But you have to,
Yeah.
you have to find the manufacturer and.
Oh, you had to try to manufacture everything. Well, anyway, they ascertained that it was Clyde because they called in the person who runs the mobile home park, and she could identify that's who it was. So, we don't know any other of the circumstances, except that his sister was so glad, and she's gonna be on Zoom today, hopefully, from, North Dakota. And so she can see that we all loved and cared and appreciated Clyde, because when you're living states away from loved ones, sometimes it's hard to know what's been happening. Well, interestingly enough, the day I got a hold of her is the day that they spread his ashes. And they spread him, she said that they had been cremated by a company that she got a hold of here. And then they were strewn, or not, I guess that's the word, they're strewn near the Golden Gate Bridge. And when I heard that, it was like, oh, he loved the ocean. And he would drive up to San Francisco to take pictures of the bridge. And so that is one of those things that is just amazing to have that energy of Clyde being there at the Golden Gate Bridge. So every time now when I see the bridge, I know I'm going to remember Clyde. And his energy was always so quiet and so peaceful. I never saw the man get upset. I heard him swear at it every once in a while at his photography. His camera and he had a very interesting relationship, and he'd get upset, but not at people. I never heard him talk badly about a person or talk badly about anybody, even politically or all the other things that people go nattering about. That wasn't Clyde. He was always very calm and quiet. He had a girlfriend who had attended church, and she contacted me and said she's sorry she couldn't be here today. Her father passed the same week that Clyde did. So she's not going to be here. So for those of you who had never met Clyde, we've got these pictures, and these are the few pictures that we can find. We have hundreds of pictures that he's taken, but none of him. So whoever that took these pictures, that we thank them very much for
I can tell you it's rather important.
honoring Clyde, because that was real important for us. He was 83 years old, and he had never been married. And he is one of those people that when I talked to him, he said everybody in his mobile home park was now Vietnamese. And I said, well, is that okay with you? He said, it's fine with me, I am right now teaching people English. Isn't that a great way of, not instead of going, I'm teaching people English, and I said, well, good for you, Clyde, I think that's great. And what, that type of person, people weren't different. He just wanted to speak more in his language, so that's what he was doing, so good for Clyde. Now, our wonderful Reverend Lynn Rogers knew Clyde quite well. Lynn, would you like to come up and
I
say
would.
a few words?
I
Just
would.
come on up and sit right here on this chair next to me.
Gee, I met Clyde probably when I met Janet back in the early '80s, taking training with Reverend Tom Gary's Center for Infinite Growth, and over the years, the decades, Clyde was that quiet presence. He was humble, as Dottie said, and helpful, and he was just, we had retreats near the beach. He was always that presence. And when my husband died in 2009, I was left with being a technical non-entity, not knowing how to rescue some of the books that Joe and I had been working on, and Clyde probably tore his hair out a few times helping me, and I always appreciated that. But again, he was, in ways like Joe, he was that person who didn't push himself forward, helped others, and I think he's an old soul that Edgar Casey would probably call, one of those angels that came to help everybody else. And so I think it's wonderful that we're here with Dottie and with the group and can honor him. He's, he was that steady presence, wasn't he? That steady presence. Probably others have sharings as well.
And I just wanted to add, if I could, you can stay right here. So Clyde was our first lay member of UCM.
That's true.
He was our first lay member of UCM. So he opened it up and said you don't have to be a reverend or a minister or a healer to be a part of UCM. And so he created that incredible spiritual dimension. Everything Clyde did, I can remember early morning meditations, New Year's Eve meditations at 4 o'clock
Oh, that's right.
a.m.
That's
and
right.
Clyde would be there so devotedly, and he would set the energy. And so whenever we did meditation, Clyde would actively set the energy.
That's right.
Actively set the energy for the incredible spiritual dimension that he brought into us. He was an incredibly spiritual and incredibly powerful human being.
Very kind too.
He really,
Just incredibly kind.
he really embodied what Edgar Casey said. Jesus' prayer was others, Lord, others.
Jen, why don't you stay up here with your guitar so we can do a meditation for a second? Okay, thank you, Lynn.
Thank you so much.
April, did you want to say anything? You don't have to move.
Okay, well, Clyde and I had a lovely relationship. He supported me when we did the Monday meditations. He'd come and set up. But what I remember most is when I was at Center for Infinite Growth and doing the altars. One time I wanted to do a garden altar, and I came in with a bucket of dirt to put on the altar, and it literally rattled him. He was like, whoa! But by the time it was finished, he was okay with it. But it was just, I think I helped him just stretch a little, because the way I do things was very different than the way he did. And he was always willing to come early, make sure things are set up. He was very worried about the world. Whenever we would do meditation, he always wanted to share what was on his heart. And that was a perfect place to bring it. And we would sit and listen to him kind of process the struggle and pain he had witnessing the suffering on the planet. So he was definitely a beautiful soul, and I'm so glad I had all those years with him.
Thank you so much. Anybody else like to share anything? Janet, could you do the meditations with Clyde?
Absolutely.
Okay.
and every one of you, please take Clyde into your heart. Take Clyde